Hey there, listeners. Looks like we're diving deep into Aussie businesses today. You've given us a ton of info on different business structures, like from the simple sole trader all the way to the big public companies.
Yeah, it's a pretty diverse landscape.
It is. So whether you're thinking of moving down under or just curious about how things work over there, let's get you up to speed.
Sounds good. What's really interesting about Australia is they actually have a really good range of structures to meet different needs.
Oh, okay.
But choosing the right one is super important from the start
Gotcha.
because it impacts everything, from like liability to taxes.
Makes sense. Okay, so let's start with the basics. We've got sole traders, partnerships, private companies, public companies, even social enterprises,
Yeah.
and those GBEs, the government business enterprises. Where should we begin?
Well, a lot of people starting out in Australia, they usually begin as a sole trader.
Okay.
It's the simplest structure. But there's a lot more to it than people realize.
Right. I see here that you might even need to register your business name with ASIC, even as a sole trader.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Yeah, so ASIC is the Australian Securities and Investments Commission, and they play a big role in regulating businesses, like all businesses.
Okay.
Now, if you're operating under your own name, like Jane Doe Consulting or something,
Yeah.
you wouldn't need to register it.
Okay.
But if you come up with a catchy business name, you'll need to register it,
Uh-huh.
like Aussie Adventure Tours or something.
Right.
You need to make sure no one else is using that name.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, you don't want to skip that step.
Yeah.
Imagine like building a brand and then you find out someone else owns the name.
Oh, that's a nightmare.
Yeah.
But, okay, back to the sole trader thing. It seems pretty simple. You're the boss. You keep all the profits. What's the catch?
The catch is unlimited liability.
Mm-hmm.
This basically means that you and the business are legally considered the same. So if your business incurs debt or gets sued, your personal assets are on the line.
So, like, my house, my car, everything.
Potentially, yes. If the business goes bankrupt, creditors can come after your personal assets to cover their losses.
Oh, wow.
It's a risk that a lot of sole traders are willing to take, especially at the start.
Yeah.
But as your business grows, that unlimited liability can get a little scary.
Yeah, for sure. So if you're looking to limit liability, a partnership isn't the way to go then, right?
Right.
Because they all have unlimited liability.
Exactly. Each partner is jointly and severally liable for the debts of the partnership. Now, that doesn't mean you're only responsible for your own actions.
Oh.
Let's say your partner makes a terrible investment
Yeah.
that leads to debt. Even if you had nothing to do with it,
Mm-hmm.
you're still on the hook for those losses. Right.
Right.
But a partnership agreement, like a really strong one, is key.
Yeah.
It should clearly outline each partner's responsibility, contributions, how you'll divide the profits and losses.
So it's like a business prenup.
Kind of.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing the partnership tax situation's a bit more complicated than just filing individually?
In Australia, a partnership actually needs its own separate tax file number.
Oh, okay.
The partnership files its own tax return. The ATO, they assess it. And then once all the taxes are paid,
Mm-hmm.
the profits are divided among the partners
Okay.
according to, their agreement.
Gotcha.
And then each partner reports their share of the profit on their individual tax return.
Okay, so it's not double taxation, but it's definitely a process. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered sole traders and partnerships, both with that unlimited liability. But I'm seeing that most of the material focuses on incorporated companies,
Right.
both private and public. So what's the big draw with those?
Incorporation, this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
It's where your business transitions from being intertwined with you personally
Mm-hmm.
to becoming its own separate legal entity.
Oh, wow.
It's a whole new ballgame.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. So if my business is incorporated, it's like it has its own, driver's license tax file number separate from mine.
Exactly. It can enter into contracts. It can own assets.
Yeah.
It can even get sued, all independent of its owners.
Wow.
And the best part, it comes with that limited liability protection we talked about.
Okay, so back to my lemonade stand. Even if it gets hit by a meteor this time,
Yeah.
my personal assets are safe.
You got it. Limited liability means that the shareholders' personal assets are protected
Okay.
from business debts and legal claims.
Mm-hmm.
Their liability is limited to the amount they've invested in the company.
Gotcha.
That's why you'll see LTD or Priddle LTD
Yeah.
at the end of a company name here in Australia.
All right.
It signals that the shareholders' personal assets are off limits.
So that LTD is like a safety shield for investors.
Pretty much.
It makes sense why so many businesses would want to incorporate them. But I'm seeing a distinction here between private and public companies.
Right.
What's the difference?
Think of it this way. A private company, a Pliny Ltd., is like a family business.
Okay.
They usually have a small number of shareholders, usually a maximum of 50. And shares aren't publicly traded. So if you want to bring on a new shareholder, the existing shareholders usually have to agree.
So it's about keeping things, in a smaller group.
Exactly. Maintaining control.
Okay. But what if you have big dreams? You want to grow exponentially. You want more investors. Is that where public companies come in?
Absolutely. A public company, or just LTD, is listed on the Australian Securities Exchange, the ASX. This means their shares can be bought and sold by anyone on the open market.
Oh, wow.
Think Qantas, Telstra, BHP, all the big ones.
Ah, the big leagues. So going public lets you get a lot of capital for growth. But I'm guessing there's a trade-off, right? Definitely.
More regulations, more scrutiny.
Absolutely. Public companies have much stricter regulations.
Yep.
Reporting requirements. They have to be very transparent with their financial info. They got to publish annual reports, have their financials audited. It's all to protect the shareholders.
So it's like you're trading some control and privacy for growth potential. That's a big decision.
It is. And honestly, not all businesses are cut out for the public market.
Right.
It really depends what your goals are and how much scrutiny you can handle.
Okay, so we've talked about the profit-driven businesses, but you also gave us some info on social enterprises.
Yeah.
And they seem to operate really differently.
Social enterprises are fascinating. Their businesses, so they want to make money, but their main goal is to address some sort of social or environmental need.
So it's like a double bottom line.
Exactly. Profit and purpose.
I read here about the Big Issue magazine. Is that a good example of a social enterprise? Oh, absolutely. A classic example. The Big Issue gives employment and support to homeless people.
Yeah.
By letting them sell the magazine.
Yeah, that's great.
It's a win-win, right? The vendors get an income and people get a good magazine.
I saw the Big Issue vendors everywhere when I was in Sydney. What other kinds of social enterprises are there?
Oh, tons. Some help people with disabilities find work. Others support indigenous communities. Some promote sustainability. Some even tackle things like food insecurity or housing.
Wow.
It's a really inspiring area.
It's amazing how businesses can do so much good. But what about the money side of things?
Yeah.
Do social enterprises aim to make a profit?
They do. But their profits usually go back into the social mission.
Okay.
Rather than being paid out to shareholders. This lets them, expand their impact and keep addressing those social or environmental challenges.
So it's about sustainability, but like in a different way, not just environmental.
Exactly. A different kind of sustainability.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, let's talk about a different kind of business, the GBEs, the government business enterprises.
Ah, yes. The GDEs.
I always get confused about these. Are they part of the government or are they separate? It's like they're both.
You're right. It is a bit of both. GGEs are businesses owned by the government, but they operate independently with the aim of making a profit while providing essential services.
So like Australia Post, everyone uses it, but it also acts like a regular business.
Perfect example. Australia Post is a GBE. They have a CEO, a board of directors. They have to manage their finances. But their shareholder is the government,
right?
Which means they have public service obligations as well.
Interesting. And NBN Co, the National Broadband Network, they're a GBE too, right?
Yes, NBN Co, another good one. Their financial performance is watched very closely because they have a huge responsibility to deliver broadband across the country.
Yeah.
They're expected to be commercially viable, but also to ensure equal access to technology, which can be tough.
It sounds like GBEs have a complicated role to play in the Australian economy. They're not just about profits, they're also about, the public good.
Exactly. And their existence often sparks debate.
Yeah.
Some people argue that GBEs should be privatized to boost efficiency and competition. Others believe that they're essential for providing these vital services to everyone.
It's that privatization debate. That's a hot topic everywhere, not just Australia.
It is a complex issue.
Yeah, it really is.
And it highlights the challenges and opportunities of a GBE.
Okay, so we've talked about sole traders, public companies, social enterprises, even GBEs. It seems like Australia really does have a business structure for everyone.
They do.
Yeah.
And Choosing the right one, well, that's a crucial first step for any entrepreneur or investor.
Wow, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Okay.
It's amazing how many options there are in Australia and how each structure, like, reflects different goals.
It is quite diverse, you're right.
Yeah.
What's stood out to you so far?
Honestly, I gotta say I'm really drawn to those social enterprises. It's so cool to see businesses using their, profits and their platform to make a real difference.
They're definitely having a moment globally. People are, more aware now than ever of where they spend their money,
Right.
and they want to support businesses that actually reflect their values.
Yeah. It feels good knowing your money's going towards something good. And it's not just, making someone richer.
Yeah,
Plus, it seems like social enterprises are popping up everywhere, not just those traditional, like, nonprofit areas.
that's true. We're seeing them tackle everything from, fashion to energy to tech.
It's a really exciting space. It feels like a shift towards a more, I don't know, holistic way of thinking about business, where profit isn't the only thing driving decisions.
It's about, more than just profit. It's about the community, the environment.
Exactly. So it seems like Australia is leading the way in this kind of purpose-driven business.
They are, yeah. Now, as you're thinking about your own potential ventures in Australia, I want to leave you with this. We've talked about structures, but what matters most is the kind of impact you want to make.
Oh, that's a good point. It's not just about picking the right legal structure. It's about what you bring to the table.
Exactly. Whether you go solo, partner up, launch a public company, or even start a social enterprise that changes everything, your business can be a force for good.
So to sum it all up, it seems like the Aussie business world is full of potential. There's a structure for everyone.
There is. And who knows, maybe someday we'll be talking about your Aussie business success story on the deep dive.
That's the dream. Thanks for taking us on this deep dive. I feel a lot more prepared to, take on this market now.
It was my pleasure. Remember, every journey starts with a single step.
So listeners, take that first step, check out your options, and get ready to make your mark down under. Until next time, happy entrepreneuring.